Hey everyone, my name is David. I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Pinterest, and a variety of other places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. Tonight, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Month, some resources you might want to use, some things you might want to avoid. It's another use it and lose it week. So things that you should use, things that you should lose and stop using. So I'm going to be getting to those things in just a second. But first, let me just tell you that if you have never been to one of these videos before, never listened to one of these before, if you're interested in any of the books, resources, or anything else that I talk about tonight, there's a whole page on my blog dedicated to that. You can go to makemomentsmatter.org and click the videos tab, or just wherever you're watching, listening, there should be a link in the description. And at the bottom of that should be a direct link to go find all that stuff. So if you hear me talk about the links page, that's what I'm talking about. One more thing, I have workshops in person that are coming up. I'm going to be in Alaska this week. I'm so excited to be there. In about a month, I'm going to be presenting at the Northwest Ohio ORF chapter. That's around Toledo, Ohio. If you're there, I'd love to see y'all there. And then I'll be doing the Michigan Music Educators Fall Conference in middle of October, and that's going to be at Wayne State University in Detroit. I hope you'll come and join us. It's going to be a wonderful time. Okay, so let's get talking tonight. So let's first talk about Hispanic Heritage Month, or Latin Heritage Month, Latinx Heritage Month. It starts on September 15th and it runs through October 15th. So let's talk a little bit about resources and things that you should use and some you should lose. But before we talk about that, let's talk about, what do you call this month? Because some people call it Hispanic Heritage Month. Some people call it Latino Heritage Month. Some people call it Latinx Heritage Month. Why are there all these different terms? What should you use and why? So on the links page tonight, I put about 5 different articles that I think are really, really interesting and insightful and give more information about what term you might want to use and why. But a little bit of history. So the whole thing started in 1968. It started out as Hispanic Heritage Week. About 20 years later, it was made a whole month, Hispanic Heritage Month. And the first term they used was Hispanic Heritage Month. And really that was, from all the information research I've learned, before they started talking about this, before they ever used this, there really wasn't a term that was used to reference people who either spoke Spanish or had a heritage from Latin America or from Mexico. There just was no term that was used to describe all sorts of people with that really, honestly, very different backgrounds, because someone from Spain is very different than someone who's from Brazil or someone who's from Colombia or Costa Rica. And so there was this term they started using on the census, I believe, they started saying Hispanic. And from the get-go, people did not like that term. They were like, I don't want to be lumped in, and it doesn't make sense, and why are you saying Hispanic? So from the very beginning, if you read these articles, it's very interesting to hear about how that term was not the preferred term, and people would rather just be like, just call me Colombian, or just say that, Chicano, or whatever. There are all these terms that are being thrown around. And so from the get-go, there was a lot of disagreement on what word should be used. The whole point, though, was this month, well, originally week, but then this month was meant to celebrate people who mostly, I think originally in the beginning, it was mostly people from Latin America, to celebrate their heritage and the contributions they made to the United States. And that's why it became this National Heritage Month. Over the years, though, it's changed and developed. In the Department of Education, there's an article that I put on the links page all about Hispanic Heritage Month in the classroom. There's some really interesting articles from different sources, so like different places. So one is like a governmental place, and one is the Human Rights Campaign, and one is the Duke Medical School, all discussing what term you might want to use and why. So the different terms that are used most often are Hispanic Heritage Month, Latino Heritage Month, Latinx Heritage Month has become more popular in the last couple of years. What's the difference? So originally, Hispanic Heritage Month was the blanket term that was used originally. So it is like the historical official term used by the government. But Hispanic itself generally means Spanish speaking. Like that's the overarching theme. And so that is a little limiting, because there are people from Latin America, like all of Brazil, they don't speak Spanish, they speak Portuguese. So to use the term Hispanic sort of limits that out. Also, the Spanish speaking, using that term to sort of talk about a group of people. Well, there are people in Africa who speak Spanish. I think it's Equatorial Guinea is their native language is Spanish. So usually when you're thinking like Hispanic Heritage Month, you don't think like Equatorial Guinea. But so anyway, so that term in and of itself is like the official original term, but for some people that's sort of, it doesn't jive with them. Then there's the term Latino or Latina, the Latin term, the Latino, Latina, generally means people from Latin America. And so that would include people who speak Portuguese or Spanish or English or whatever. But again, that term then doesn't include like folks from Spain, things like that. So again, it's like, which term do you use? And then more recently, the term Latinx has been started to be used, or Latine, Latine, in place of Latino or Latina. Why? Because Spanish is a language that, just like French or Italian or some other languages, that adds gender to non-gendered things. So it's either lo or la, like un or una. So like any word, anything could be gendered or not, or gendered one, male or female, even though it's a non-gendered thing. And so the default for Spanish then is if you have like a big group of people, you would just default to the male term. So like instead of amigos and amigas, you could just say amigos, and that means like all friends, right? And so some people are saying, instead of just centering the male term, instead of just, only talking about that, using that male default, why not use a non-gendered word? Well, there isn't really a non-gendered word in Spanish, and so people are starting to use Latinx or Latine. And again, this is also for people who are like maybe non-binary or don't identify with one or the other. It's just a term that you could use in place of Latino Heritage Month to encompass all people. That's been used more in the last couple of years. Some people it's academia that's pushing it on us, but a lot of businesses are using that too. So I think the point is to remember through all of this, you should worry less about the term you're using and more about focusing on the students and the communities that you want to highlight. So a lot of people will do like Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Month, or, just a more inclusive, multiple different options, so that you're not just focusing on one thing. But again, it's less about the label and more about you taking the time in your curriculum to be very specific and take the time to highlight those communities. It's a special time where we get to celebrate all of contributions, especially to music. There are so many contributions that Hispanic and Latinx people have given to the development of music. And so to be able to talk about that in this month is really special. So again, worry less about the term and worry more about how you're going to integrate this into your curriculum. Okay, so let's get into the lose it and use it portion of tonight. So this is actually very funny for me. So the lose it we're going to use first. So this is the time of year where teachers are teaching procedure and they're talking about, attention getters and how students are going to react and all of that. And there are all sorts of, terms where, teachers use all these little shorthand things to try and get kids' attention. So there's like 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, and the kids all go 1, 2, eyes on you, right? Or I've heard a teacher say like capiche, and all the kids say caposh, or what, like all of these like sort of call and response things to get a student's attention. And so teachers are trying to get creative, right? And so there are all these different ways that you can try and get a kid's attention, like all hail the queen or all hail the king or what, like all these things that like then students respond to or whatever. So like if you search on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, you're going to find just many, many, many of these. Well, there's one that I have heard in my school that I want you to be aware of. So I've heard a lot of teachers do like dun da da dun da, and the kids are supposed to go bum bum, like that was the plan. Do the kids normally get the correct notes? No, not always. And actually, most of the time I hear teachers like bum ba da dum bum, and kids like meh, meh. It's I don't love it because I don't feel like it's very musical. Like it could be done well, but it's not always done well. So that's my first gripe about, using that. The shave and a haircut, which is a very well-known, popular thing in the United States. The old phrase was shave and a haircut, 2 bits. Like that was the original American version of that little rhythm. But since we're talking about like Hispanic Heritage Month, Latinx Heritage Month, you should know that especially in Mexico, but in some other Spanish-speaking countries, but especially in parts of Mexico, if you go bum ba da dum bum bum bum, that is a very, very vulgar thing to do, and in those places it means. Well, I'm not going to say because I know kids listen to this while their parents are driving the car and their kids in the backseat or whatever. But it is a very vulgar thing that is something you should not say because it says something very mean about like someone's mother. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it, but if you do a little research, you'll find that's something you probably want to avoid. So if you have any students who come from Spanish-speaking countries or who have families who do, or whatever, that's one to avoid. It's one that I was like, I don't know, like I've heard this story, and so I have a couple friends who like called the family members who are originally from different Spanish-speaking countries, and they're like, yeah, we don't use that around kids. So whether or not your kids know it or not, it's just a good one to avoid. Like there's so many other things you could do. So like I would say that's the thing we're going to lose. We're going to lose the shave and haircut. We're not going to bring that into the classroom. Okay, so that's the thing you should lose. And then things that you can use. I have 2 books I want to share with you. One that could be more primary and then maybe one more of like a middle ages in your classroom. I have a whole page on the links page. It links to an Amazon ideas list, wish list thing where I like have tried to compile as many great books as you can find. There are books like about the life of Celia Cruz, about Tito Puente. There's a book about Lin-Manuel Miranda. There's one about Selena. Like all these books about like famous musicians who are Latina. But then also there are all of these great stories where where like just the protagonists are Latina, and so like it's a cool list of books that you should consider. And I have a couple books that I want to share with you tonight. The first one is this one called Salsa Lullaby. And this is by Jen Arena. Sorry, no, there's no Enya there. And then illustrated by Erica Mesa. And I'll just read just part of it to you. It's a really beautiful book, but it's a fun book too. I would probably use this for younger grades. In fact, I'm planning on using this in 1st grade. So this is Salsa Lullaby. Mommy starts a salsa song. Poppy keeps the beat. Baby loves this lullaby, moves those dancing feet. Oh my gosh, in the first sentence, we're talking about keeping the beat. What? Okay, so how perfect is this if you're like, this could be a natural extension from like, we're talking about steady beat, we're keeping the beat. What, like keeping the beat to music. Oh my gosh, how many connections could you make? Already on the first page. Okay, so let me say it again. Mommy starts a salsa song, Poppy keeps the beat. Baby loves this lullaby, moves those dancing feet. Baila, baby, baila. Dance, dance, dance. Because baila means dance in Spanish, and then it gives you the translation. That's gonna come back. Get ready for it. Mommy glides across the floor. Poppy sets the pace. Baby sings la la la, makes a silly face. Canta, baby, canta. Sing, sing, sing. Again, this is great for kids because it gives you the Spanish word and then immediately gives the translation. So easy, 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 fun. Mommy lifts her arms up high. Poppy spins and twists. Baby bounces happily, waves those little fists. Salta, baby, salta. Jump, jump, jump. Mommy sways more slowly now. Poppy dims the light. Baby watches sleepily. Soon it will be night. Mira, baby, mira. Look, look, look. Mommy cuddles baby close. Poppy's voice gets deep. A slow salsa lullaby. Baby falls asleep. Duerme, baby, duerme. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Buenas noches. Good night. And then in the back, it gives you a little glossary in case you're not familiar with the words in Spanish. Baila is dance, canta is sing, salta is jump, mira is look, Duerme is sleep and buenas noches is good night. So I'm going to use this in first grade. I'm going to pair it with talking about lullabies. How would you sing differently? How would you, how can you take a song that is quick and fast and turn it into a lullaby? Yes. What are the things they're doing in the story to help the baby go to sleep? So many cool connections. And it's a super quick book, but you could take it and make it a jumping off point for so many different lessons. It could be keeping the beat. It could be lullabies in general. It could be salsa music. It could be dancing. It could be so many things. How you sing the music is dynamics. It could be so many things. So a super cool book that you could use in different grades if you wanted. Cool. And then the other book I wanted to share with you tonight is this book called Lola's Fandango. And this one is written by Anna Whitty and illustrated by Misha Archer. There's a cool extra feature about this that I'll talk about as soon as I share just a couple pages of this. Okay, so Lola's Fandango. Lola and her family live in a small apartment in a building called the Park. The building is in the middle of the city. There is no park. But there is traffic. Honk, honk, go the cars. Lola has one older sister. Lola thinks her sister has the better name. Clementina sounds so much better than Lola. Clementina is taller than Lola, and her braid is longer than Lola's arm. You have such beautiful hair, says Lola. When you're older, you'll have hair just as beautiful, says Clementina. Lola looks at herself in the mirror. Her hair is coarse and wiry like a terrier. Clementina paints very well. The other day she painted a cat so perfect it licked its paw when she was done. She's talented, our Clementina, says Poppy. Mommy nods. Lola looks at her own painting. Her camel looks like a whale. Clementina has friends. They wear pretty ruffled dresses and have ice cream in the kitchen. Then they go into Clementina's room and close the door. Let me in, says Lola as she knocks on the door. Not now, says Clementina. When you're older, you'll get your own room. Not fair, says Lola. She hides in the closet in Mommy and Poppy's bedroom. The closet smells like Mommy's perfume. There are many boxes in the dark corners behind the long coats. Lola opens the first one. Winter clothes. Phew, they smell like mothballs. Lola opens the second one. Letters. So many letters. Lola recognizes Abuelita's tiny handwriting. Abuelita, she says, I miss you. The third box has a red lid with golden writing. It looks expensive. Lola lifts the lid carefully. A pair of shoes. They have high heels and go tock-tock on the wooden floor. Tock-tock through the hallway. Tock-tock into the kitchen. Mommy is sitting at the sewing machine. The sewing machine goes tick-tick-tick-tick, tick-tick-tick-tick. Mommy, why don't you wear these shoes? Put those shoes back right where you found them, Lola, says Mommy. Those are shoes for dancing, not for walking. Dancing? What kind of dancing? Asks Lola. Flamenco, says Mommy. Flamingo? Flamenco. It's a Spanish dance. Does Clementino dance flamenco? Lola asks. No, Mommy answers. Now put those shoes away. Okay, so you can probably see where this is going. So her older sister does not do flamenco. Therefore, Lola must do flamenco, right? So to try and set herself apart. So she talks with her dad about flamenco. She finds out that her mom was a flamenco dancer. She sees this beautiful picture of her. And then, okay, so I love this part. I want to learn, says Lola. You? Poppy raises his left eyebrow, but it's difficult. You need duende. What's that? Spirit. Attitude. But I have that, Lola shouts and throws her arms in the air and makes a serious face, like Mommy in the picture. Papa laughs. Please, says Lola. I promise I'll practice a lot. All right, says Poppy. I'll teach you. But don't tell Mommy or Clementina, says Lola. It'll be our secret, says Poppy. So he teaches her how to dance, and then I love this part because he says before you start to dance, you have to be able to clap the rhythm. Listen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you could absolutely clap that if you want. You could talk about that. It'd be super easy. As she's like going to sleep, she hears it. She hears the raindrops tap out that rhythm. The clock on the wall ticks that rhythm. The cars in the street honk that rhythm. All of that. So she hears that as she's going, and it talks about as her processes. She starts to learn how to dance flamenco. She practices as she brushes her teeth, combs her hair, all these like rhythms that she's practicing, trying to feel and internalize. She dances with her dad. Obviously there's some stress and tension along the way. And so for her mom's going to have a birthday party, and she's like, she wants to dance flamenco for that. They come home. It's a surprise. It's very excited. But she sort of gets nervous on the night of, and isn't sure she wants to do it. And her dad's like, I thought you had the spirit. I thought you had, were so determined. And then he has surprise has bought her a dress and shoes that look just like her mom's. So she's super inspired by that. She goes and she dances with her mom. And her aunt and her uncle, they play guitar while she dances. And it's just super, super cool story. Yeah, and so it's fun that she gets to like live in this tradition with her mom, has this fun, cool connection. What I love about this story, there's, again, so many connections. You could connect to videos of flamenco dancing, to music. You could connect to just this idea of wanting to do something yourself, and it takes so much practice. You don't get it right away. You could get a rhythm lesson out of this because of the rhythms that she has to do and she has to internalize. I mean, there's so many connections, right? But one extra thing I love about it, this book is like only $10, I think, and it comes with a CD of someone reading the book. So, okay, let me pull this up on my computer, my other computer. This is great for a sub lesson too, because it's all pre-recorded. It even includes a version where it like has a little twinkle sound where it says turn the page, basically, like turn the page, which like takes me back to like elementary school and like sitting with a little tape where you have to like turn the page. Anyway, so it's cool, and it's read by a family. So like there's a mom and a dad and 2 daughters in the story, and the audiobook is read by a family with 2 parents and 2 kids. So it's super cool that they like it's recreated. You feel like you're listening to the actual characters in the story. So let me just play just part of this. Okay, here we go, and I hope you all can hear this.
To dance, says Lola.
You will,
says Papi.
in a few days. Now it's time to go to bed.
There's the turn page sound.
Lola cannot fall asleep for a long time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
The raindrops on the window sing.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
The clock on the wall ticks.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
The cars in the street honk.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
And then Clementina says,
Wake up, Lola, Dormilona. Breakfast is ready. I know it.
So I just love it. It has this like super cool backing track. It's like playing music throughout. You actually hear the car horns. You hear the raindrops. I mean, it's just super cool how it brings the story to life. And that CD is like included with the book. Maybe now if you look, I'm not, okay, because I bought this a couple years ago. This was originally published 2011. You might be able to just get it with an MP3 now. I don't know if it even would come with a CD, because like who has a CD player? But it's great to be able to use to like put in a subtub or let kids read in a listening center, because it has the book in there, or it has the sounds in there. If they're like not very strong readers, they could just read along while the page flips, and then they could look at the pages too. Anyway, super, super, super cool book. Definitely worth looking at. Both Salsa Lullaby and Lola's Fandango and a bunch of other books are on that page that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, where I said like all of my favorite books for Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Month are all sort of in one place on one list. I put both of these there, but there are so many more. Like I said at the beginning, there are a lot of ways to include books to celebrate Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Month. You could talk about famous musicians like Selena or Tito Puente or Celia Cruz. There are so many cool biography books, but there are also books like this that are not about any one specific musician, but just center and make the protagonist center the culture so that kids can see themselves in the book, and that you are making sure that you feature those cultures and those connections just by choosing books with protagonists who are representatives from those cultures. So anyway, these are 2 super cool books I would definitely encourage you to check out. There are many, many more on that links page, on that Amazon wish list, ideas list, in case you're interested. But I would just say go out and check them out now. You still have a few days, like 4, until the month starts, because this month runs September 15th through October 15th. Unlike Black History Month or Indigenous History Month, Indigenous Heritage Month, this one runs the 15th to the 15th, which is a little bit different, but definitely something you still have time. So what I like to do is when I find lists like this, I like to go to my local library and just put a ton of books on hold, get them all, and then decide, do I want to buy this book right away? I don't know. I want to see it maybe first. So it's easy to take a bunch of books, go and look, and then find out if that book is right for you in your classroom. But I hope that the ideas list gives you a place to start and some ideas of things that you could use in your classroom. Okay, well, that's all for tonight. I hope you'll join me next Monday for another Musical Mondays video. But again, if you have questions, ideas, thoughts along the way, please email me or send me a message. I'd love to get, if you look at that ideas list and you see like, oh my gosh, my favorite book is missing, send me a message and I would love to include it. Check that out, see if there are some, check that page out and see if there's some books I'm missing and let me know. I'd love to include them on that page. All right, thanks so much, everyone. I will see y'all next week. And have a great week with your kids. Bye, everyone.